This is Crystal Burrell. She's my mom. This is Jonathan Burrell. He's my brother. He's 11. This is David Burrell. He's my brother. He's 17. And this is Rebecca Burrell. She's my sister. She's 13. Now that you've met my audience, let's learn how to tie-dye. Are you bored with your plain white shirts? Do you know how to tie-dye? Did you know it can take a minimum of 7 hours to tie-dye your shirt if you do it properly? This is because it takes around 1 hour to prepare your workstation shirt and dye your shirt, and a minimum of 6 hours for the dye to soak into your shirt. Take, for example, a swirl design. This is a swirl design. A swirl design can be completed in a single day if you follow the correct steps. There are 3 major steps to completing a swirl design on your shirt. The first step is to prepare your workstation and shirt. Your second step is to dye the shirt. This is the most fun step throughout the entire process. And the third and final step is to prepare your shirt to be worn. Now that we know the steps, let's start off with how to prepare your shirt and workstation. First, you need to make sure you have all the materials that you need. This includes your shirt, rubber bands, your dye, some kind of protectant covering for your workspace so that you don't dye it, and sometimes some kind of latex gloves so that your hands do not become dyed. Second, you need to make sure your shirt is clean. If you just go and buy your shirt from the store, you will need to wash it because most of the shirts at the store have some kind of coating on it so that it does not get dyed or stained while it's there. This just means you'd have to do like a quick rinse cycle or even rinse it in the sink. Third, depending on your method, you either need to let your shirt dry or go ahead and get it set up. I personally prefer doing it when the shirt is wet. I feel like this helps the colors blend better and helps the pattern develop better. Next, you need to get your dye ready. Before you do this, you should put on your gloves so that you do not dye your hand. If you are using a powder dye, you need to make sure your dye dissolves all the way. If you're doing a liquid dye, most of the time they need to be diluted with some water. Once you have finished getting all of your dye ready, lay out all your materials neatly on a plastic tarp so they are easy to access without getting dye on other stuff. Now that we know how to prepare our shirt and workstation, let's talk about how to dye the shirt. Before you can dye your shirt, you need to get your design ready. Today I'll be doing a single spiral design. To do a single spiral design, you must first lay out your shirt. Now you need to pick where you want the center of your swirl to be. I normally choose the center of the shirt because I feel like it helps the swirl develop better and have the most clear depiction of one. As stated on the website titled Instructable.com, last modified in March of 2020, this is the most important step. They state if you do it sloppily, then your end product will be sloppy and you will regret it. You would need to take your rubber bands and get them sectioned off into triangles like this. It should look like this when you're finished. Once you are finished with that, you are ready to start dyeing. You need to get your dye and make sure all of your powder is in it, and you need to stick the tip of the bottle all the way into the crevices. If you don't stick the tip of the bottle into the crevices, then your pattern will not develop all the way and dye won't soak all the way through, so half of your shirt would end up being plain. We are now able to move on to our final step, which is getting your shirt ready to be worn. Now that you have finished getting your dye on your shirt, you need to put it in a plastic bag and let it soak overnight or 6 to 8 hours. The longer you let it soak, the more vibrant the colors will become, as stated by admin on the Tie Dye Your Summer website, last modified on April 18th of 2017. When you wake up the next day or it has been 6 to 8 hours, you need to get rubber bands off of your shirt and then rinse your shirt with cold water, gradually increasing the temperature of the water. This will allow all the excess dye to rinse out before putting it in the washing machine. When you put it in the washing machine, make sure it's alone or with other tie-dyed shirts so that if any excess dye is there, it won't bleed onto your good shirts. Now, let's review our process. You begin by prepping your shirt and workstation. Once you finish that, you can then move on to the dyeing process. Now that you are finished with the dyeing and the prepping, you are able to move on to getting your shirt ready to be worn out into public and seen by others. Now you should be better prepared and able to begin dyeing more shirts on your own and even helping others. Now when anyone asks you if you want to dye a shirt, you can say yes and maybe even help them to better their design themselves.